Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Season 1, Episode 6, As Darkness Falls. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So this episode begins with Nemesis in an altar, basically saying that he wants Penelope to be his and asking Hera to give him a way to make her his. And ultimately, Hera gifts him a big club and he has to kill Hercules, or he's tasked with killing Hercules, which he doesn't mind because his twin brother tried to assault Hercules' wife, and so Hercules killed him. So there's a little bit of revenge going on there as well. And we then see Hercules on his way to Penelope's wedding to Marcus, not Nemesis, who is a centaur. But Marcus isn't. Marcus is human. And he then, as he's on his way there, runs into a soldier, Tyron, who's bringing his friend's armor back to his family after his friend died to save him. And he refuses Hercules' help because it's something he feels he has to do himself. Hercules then arrives at the wedding, and it's kind of a festive spirit. There's different games of skill like javelin throwing, archery, etc. And he knew the bride from the past, friend of the family, so that's why he was invited to the wedding. And he's immediately flirted with by Lila, who comes over and basically says she'll show him a good view. While they're there, she tricks him into drinking poison, and he does reject her, but then he starts to notice that his vision starts coming in and out, and he starts going blind, which then leads to him basically having to fake it till he makes it. With the various sporting events, he seems to get along fine with the centaurs, but all the while the centaurs are resentful that they've been put further away from the main tables and feel like they're being treated as less than because they're half horse. And so all the while they're planning to help Nemesis. And then once Hercules fails to intervene in a fight when Tyron arrives, the family members of the friend who saved him basically blame him and decide that they're going to kill him. And Hercules tries to intervene, but because he can't see, he ends up getting hit in the head and knocked out. And this then leads to there being an opening for the centaurs and Lila to attack. They kidnap the bride and maid of honor and go off to a cave where they're chained up, and basically Nemesis is deluded into thinking that Penelope once loved him, but she's like, you're mistaking the affection of a child for something it's not, because they were friends when they were children, as the centaurs had worked on her father's farm. Marcus, Tyron, Hercules, and Salomonius, who's now selling property, decide to go after them. Salomonius is acting as Hercules' eyes because he is fully blind at this point. And they have a confrontation where Tyron is unfortunately squished by a rock, and Marcus is shot in the leg. Hercules then goes to the cave on his own after burying Tyron, and this is when Derek and Lila, who are part of the, in a human-centaur relationship, decide to bow out as they don't bear ill will towards Hercules, but they also can't go against Nemesis because Nemesis raised Derek and he won't raise his hand against him, so they leave, heading towards Athens, according to them, hoping it'll be more hospitable. And Hercules then goes into the cave to fight Nemesis. Salomonius manages to distract Nemesis, so it allows Hercules to come in, and he first gets Cherish unlocked. But before he can get Penelope unlocked, Nemesis returns, and so he ends up fighting Nemesis, and then he puts out the fire with a stew that's cooking using his enhanced hearing to basically even the playing field. They then fight, and Penelope isn't able to get out, but the cave starts to collapse. Nemesis kind of has a change of heart in the end, and when Hercules is trying to hold up the roof so it doesn't collapse on them, Nemesis comes over and tells him to save Penelope because ultimately he loves Penelope and doesn't want her to die in a cave-in. So Nemesis ends up holding up the ceiling while Hercules breaks the chains that are on Penelope, and he and Cherish and Penelope all run out of the cave while it collapses down on Nemesis, killing him. And then they, at the end, reunite Marcus and Penelope, and Salomonius, who is taking bets the entire time during the athletic festivals, ends up having his money given to the bride and groom, which is the tradition of that village. And at first he's upset, but then Hercules tells him that it's smart because they'll never forget him, and he seems totally okay with that after that as they walk off into the woods. So now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, we'll now rank the episode. As always, we'll start on the mostly objective ranking, followed by the personal ranking. So first we have our single episode supporting character introductions. Our main villain is Nemesis. Then there's the bride and groom, Penelope, who Nemesis is in love with, and Marcus, who Penelope is in love with, and is in love with Penelope as they are getting married mutually. And then Tyron, who is the soldier that goes with Hercules to rescue Penelope, and the maid of honor. And they're worth 1 point each, so that's a total of 4 points. Then 1 point each for a total of 4 points. Yes, that makes sense. Single episode supporting character growth. I thought that Nemesis' redemption and change of heart was enough character growth to justify the extra 1 point that it gave, because it was a pretty massive turnaround, and in the end, even though he's the one who caused the trouble, he does end up sacrificing his life to set right and to allow Penelope, Hercules, and the maid of honor to escape. Then we have our multi-episode supporting character introductions, and that's Lila and Derek. Derek the Centaur, Lila the friend of the Centaurs, and they seem to be in, based on their mannerisms, at least somewhat of a romantic entanglement, and they are the ones who decide to leave, and they do recur in at least one other episode each, and so they're worth 2 points each, so again, 4 points. That brings us up to 9 points. Then we have our multi-season main character development. Hercules goes blind. Pretty big development. Though, as Lila and Derek are leaving, Lila does let him know that the poison she fed him is temporary and will only last a few days. So, thank goodness it's not permanent. And then the world building piece that centaurs exist. And those are worth 4 points each, so that's 8 plus 9, 17 points total. But there were some negative messaging and behaviors. Obviously, Lila poisons Hercules, poisoning people, not good, minus 2 points. Then we have the misplaced anger. Tyron drags his friend's armor all the way from the battlefield where he died to save him to his brothers, and then his brothers just immediately turn around and decide that they want to kill him. And it's like, your brother died saving him. That then means that if you kill him, now your brother's died for nothing because you've completely destroyed what it was he died saving. So I felt that that was very misplaced anger. Plus, it's not his fault that his friend died on the battlefield. In fact, his friend was honorable, dying for him, and then he was honorable by going out of his way to drag back the armor, which was very heavy, with a wounded leg all the way from the battlefield to make sure that his family would have them. So I just feel like that was a negative, misplaced anger. And then obviously we have the kidnapping, and that is obviously wrong as well. So once all of those points minus 6 points are taken, it does leave us with 11, but that still makes it a 10 out of 10 episode. Bringing us to our mostly objective ranking list, and where more than one episode has the same score, we rank in episode order. So we have in first The Wrong Path, followed by this episode in second as Darkness Falls, The Road to Caledon, Ares, The Festival of Dionysus, and then Eye of the Beholder in sixth place. Personal ranking for this episode, I did enjoy it. I thought that it was fun and lighthearted for the most part at the beginning. You know, you have just a nice outdoor green meadows wedding happening, celebration, all of like the athletic activities. And, you know, it has to have time for the poison to take effect. So we have like a lot of interaction between a lot of the characters. So you get kind of to know the characters more than you do in some other episodes. Um, and it didn't feel as dire. And then, of course, you have like the attack, the kidnapping, the whole backstory of why there's revenge against Hercules, and them saying like Nemesis used to be a good person, but life and death just wore him out. And then, like, in the end, he has his redemption arc, and I love a redemption arc. So that was good as well. Lila and Derek, they're star-crossed lovers. They head out to try to find a place that's more accommodating. Then you have the love story, Penelope and Marcus, Penelope being taken, Marcus wounded trying to get her back, the reunion at the end. Salomonius is always good for comedic relief. And before he was selling togas, now he's into real estate, offers to go into business with Hercules every time, and, you know, bought some swampland and wants to like put it in by like 20 by 20 lots because, you know, Hercules, he can move mountains and stuff, divert rivers, and make the land a little bit better. Of course, Hercules refuses, giving him the handicap of the blindness added some tension that usually is missing because he did not have all of his powers. But as with most cases, when you go blind, you end up getting better senses with regards to hearing and smell and other such things. So they added that in, and he was able to basically fight blind and just show that he is a hero type. Overall, I didn't have much that I disliked about the episode. I mean, and also, Lucy Lawless, who becomes Xena, played Lila, which I think is a fun fact because they do often have like the same actor or actress reprising a different role in the series. It's not like unique to, like, I think even Aeolus plays, like, the actor who plays Aeolus plays other characters as well throughout the series. So I thought that was fun that she was in there. And then, of course, she was flirting with Hercules. And I always thought that Xena and Hercules had some chemistry. So I think it's just the actors because obviously Lila and Hercules also had some chemistry, though he did reject her. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I didn't quite hate it. I mean, obviously, given the time period, the effects on the centaurs was actually horrible, but that's part of the charm too. So, anyways, all that being said, I decided to give it an 8 out of 10. I gave it an 8 because, you know, there was the whole kidnapping and the like treating a woman as property and the poisoning, which you didn't really need to poison them, and like why would Lila help with that? Seems kind of like why are all these centaurs helping? And then even one of the other centaurs who ends up dying um also decided to steal a girl, which was the maid of honor, and help Nemesis. And basically, you know, he didn't even have an excuse of Hercules killed his brother and he was childhood friends with this girl. He was just evil. I didn't really note him down because he was brief in the episode. Um, so I don't want to overlook the negatives, but I did really enjoy the episode, which is why, again, 8 out of 10, and I did put it into first so far as Darkness Falls, followed by Eye of the Beholder, The Festival of Dionysus, Ares, The Wrong Path, and then The Road to Caledon. Bringing us now to our series ranking so far, and on our mostly objective ranking, we have 36 out of a possible 130, and the personal ranking is at 38 out of 130. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked Hercules: The Legendary Journeys Season 1, Episode 6, As Darkness Falls. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.